It's Psych Chrissy here. Welcome to the Life Crusher Live on Willpower. Who's got it? Who needs some? Who thinks they've got spades of it? Who thinks that they need more? Well, guys, I'm going to crack into some content tonight on willpower that was prompted by my podcast listening and then my desire to obviously do a little bit of reading on willpower from a research perspective and really just work out, when we're trying to make changes in our lives, what really makes a difference? Like, what is it that really gets us over the line? And I say this because awesomely our Mind Body Bootcamp is launching tonight. Hey, Jenny. And there are a bunch of individuals tonight that are probably sweating a little bit, getting a little bit nervous about their healthy lifestyle changes that are going to be kicking off tonight on day one of the Mind Body Bootcamp. But it got me thinking because I'm like, I've had a whole range of conversations with people in the last couple of days about will they, won't they, how are they going to get over the line? They're feeling anxious about their change processes. And Psych Chrissy started thinking, what works? And I kind of have an idea because I'm obviously running some Mind Body Boot Camp. So you'd hope I had some bloody idea with what works around behaviour change and sustaining long-term change. But willpower is often this concept that people throw around as being, the critical thing that we need to be able to get ourselves over the line as far as achieving goals or doing what we set out to achieve, get whatever we need in life. We need a level of willpower. Well, it's really, really interesting because I started looking into two blokes that have some opinions on willpower that I thought were really, really fascinating. Hey Taz, hey Amanda, thanks for joining Psych Chrissy's Life Crusher Live. So I started looking into willpower today because I was celebrating all things Mind Body Boot Camp. Hey guys, I don't know whether you've noticed, but I actually have put on the post because I am freaking pumped that our Mind Body Boot Camp is now available online. Don't freak out, guys, if you've been looking at the Mind Body Bootcamp thinking, bloody hell, I just can't commit to the sessions. I can't attend on this night. I can't attend on that night. Oh, it's just too overwhelming with all the things that I would need to try and change in my life to make that happen. Guess what? You can do it from your bloody armchair, guys. You can get on your laptop and watch Psych Chrissy on steroids for 6 weeks. You can have all your workouts online. You can work through all the tasks and the worksheets that we set for our Mind Body Boot Campers, plus join the online support for that six week period of time. So if you've been umming and ahhing and then you just decided I've run out of time or whatever, come and join us for online boot camp. I've got a special offer available to the viewers tonight of the Life Crusher Live. Click the link. There is an amazing deal on the Mind Body Bootcamp online program that you can access if you click that button. So come work with me, guys. Come and get your willpower if that's what you need from the Mind Body Bootcamp online. But I'm going to talk to you about willpower because let's not get confused here because there's some different schools of thought that I want to chat to you guys about. So this morning I was listening to my old mate Russell Brunson and he had also been following the work of another guy who I also had a look at. And he said, willpower is a piece of hogwash. That's basically what he said. He said, forget about willpower. Don't worry about it. You don't need it because it's a load of shit. And it'll get you nowhere. And it was based on the thought that willpower is just not enough to get people over the line. You can, if we define willpower as, some motivation, generally he was saying that unless you make some major changes to your environment, willpower will just fade away. It absolutely is not enough to get us over the line. And to a certain degree, I tend to agree with Rusty. I think he's got a point, because you can have an idea and you can be really motivated, but if stuff doesn't change around you or you don't put certain processes in place, forget it. You're just not going to be able to get yourself over the line. Then when I started looking into the research, one researcher described willpower as a muscle. So if you flex it often enough, it may work initially, but over time it gets tired and fatigued and it just gets worn out. And very quickly, old habits sort of creep in. So willpower kind of fades away. You know, if you think of it as a muscle being flexed, it might be strong to start off with, but then over time, it just goes away. And then we just go back to our old behaviours, or we just forget about working towards that goal or whatever it is that we're trying to change. So another school of thought, and this was really awesome, it's by a guy named Ben Hardy, and he's an organisational psychologist, and he wrote a book, I can't even remember what it's called, but he was basically slamming willpower. And this is where Rusty got some of his ideas from, Rusty Brunson. But basically Ben Hardy said that willpower is an uncertain zone. So if you've got some willpower happening to make some changes, basically he's saying you are not fully committed. If you think that willpower is what you're going to rely on to get yourself over the line, that is an indicator that one, you're not fully committed yet, or two, you're kind of ambiguous about change. You're kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're making statements about using willpower to get you over the line. It means that you're uncertain. It means that you might be uncertain for a lot of reasons, whether it's a good choice, whether you've got the ability to do it, whether you've got the capacity and the resources to do it. So willpower is just like this purgatory zone. It's like, you know, willpower's like you're not in yet, but you're not out, and you're just relying on that, and potentially it's not going to get you to where you need to go. So he said, in order for people to be successful at change or doing something different, a whole range of things need to happen. And in fact, it doesn't even matter whether you've got willpower or not. Pretty much if you change these things either about yourself and in your environment, you are on the road to success, regardless of how much willpower you have or not. So it's an interesting thought. Very, very interesting thought. And he was very specific about the things that needed to happen to get you to where you needed to go. So he said, in the absence of willpower, if we just got that, we threw it in the bin, we didn't worry about it again. If we were able to do the following things, we would be successful at change. So one of them is actually making the commitment in the first place, making a decision. I am going to do ... So for example, you know, if we wanted to change our diet, I'm going to change my diet in this way. So pretty much he was suggesting that if you just make a decision, then the rest can fall into place. The rest can happen. You will take steps towards that goal or that decisive point or that commitment that you have made, and it will all fall into place. Not necessarily easily. There's a range of other things that I think also are important and that complement making a commitment and making a decision to do something differently. So I often say to people, you know, they'll come to therapy and it's so funny. Like they'll say to me, Psych Chrissy, I'm really starting to feel better. You know, I'm starting to, you know, manage things a little bit differently, and I'm starting to cope with things. And I go, Susan, it's not a bloody accident. It's not a bloody accident, mate. We've been working on this stuff for, you know, the last 5 or 6 sessions. You have made a number of changes to the way that you're thinking about things around your environment, around your lifestyle. It's not a bloody accident that you're starting to feel better. But sometimes I've got to remind people of that. You know, that if you make the changes and you do things differently and you start to challenge yourself and stay committed to that, that things start to change. It's not a bloody accident. So when Ben Hardy started talking about, changes, he did speak about making a commitment, but he also spoke about, goal setting, being accountable, having ways to measure your progress, and knowing, if you're starting to digress or make decisions that are not consistent with that way of life that you want to live, or, that goal that you've got, that you can quickly pull yourself back into line. So it's very important to have some of those things in your environment. So not just commitment, but accountability, goals, steps to achieve those goals. One other funny thing that he said that I thought was a corker for something like diet is he said, you've got to remove everything in your environment that is not consistent with that change that you want to make. So if you're talking about diet here, pretty much all the Doritos have got to go. All the Tim Tams, bye-bye. Everything's got to go. Everything's got to be eliminated from your environment. And I laughed at that because I thought, Ben, that's all good in theory, and I totally get it, because for me, if I'm really trying to eat healthy and clean and all of that sort of stuff, I cannot have a packet of Doritos in the bloody cupboard, let me tell you now, because I would demolish those in 2 seconds flat in a weak moment, or if I was feeling hungry or tired, or any of those vulnerabilities. So but it's about trying to get that environment as consistent as possible with where you're wanting to go. So if it's about, committing to your own self-development or your learning, that, you actually schedule that in, you make time for it, you have the resources. So, you download the podcast, you have the notes ready, you allocate time, you might be from 7 to 8 o'clock, I'm going to focus only on, my self-development, and, that you really make a commitment to that process. And it was really interesting. I was actually, when the Mind Body Bootcamp's about to kick off, I get loads of inboxes from people. Hey Jack, hey Kelly, contemplating the boot camp, contemplating change. I get shitloads of excuses as well, and people talking to me about their inability to kind of commit to that process. But I had a really interesting conversation today with someone that was already thinking about the online program, and they said to me, Psych Chrissy, you're killing me, man, because I knew that I didn't have time to actually commit to the Mind Body Bootcamp itself. But when you hit me with that online program, what are you trying to do to me? Because you're removing all of my excuses. And she said, how do I make this work? And some of the strategies that I gave her were about making the commitment to self-care. So number one, making the decision, and making it happen. So, if you were going to commit to the online program, what day of the week would that be? What time would that be? How long would you dedicate to it? How would you structure your week to kind of complement that process? And yes, there's a lot more flexibility around an online program versus a program that you've actually got to turn up to sessions for and make a commitment to. But, I was talking to her about, that decision making, that prioritization, the scheduling, making it happen, and changing her environment to make that work, because it doesn't just happen by willpower, does it? And she was even I suppose she was saying that, she had some motivation to do it, but it's all the environmental stuff that potentially was going to get in the way of that. And I was able to, give her some strategies that were kind of consistent with the anti-willpower movement about how to actually make that happen, which was fascinating. So there we go, guys. Their willpowers you probably need, in summary, based on my research and my reading and my listening today, and also my own experience with people that are, in the business of wanting to make some changes and just can't seem to click it over, that willpower probably isn't enough to get you over the line, and that not only does your environment need to change, but, the way that you are prioritizing, your commitment to that, your mindset probably needs to change. you know, like the person today, they were a little bit sort of apprehensive about being able to do it. You know, self-belief, talking to yourself in kind ways. There's probably a whole lot of things that need to change besides willpower that will make your, I suppose, your commitment to that process successful. So I don't know whether that's been helpful, guys, but maybe you need to broaden the scope. If you're saying to yourself, willpower is going to get me over the line, maybe you should go and a few other things that Psych Chrissy has spoken to me about that I need to get in check and get in place for that to be successful. So that's some food for thought. Something to mull your minds over, and something to consider when you're going to have a crack at something. Just maybe make sure that some of those pieces are in place. Are you committed? Have you made the time? Have you changed your environment in a way that is consistent with those changes that you want to make? Are you going to be accountable if you start to digress? How are you going to know about that? What are your accountability measures going to say? Are they going to alert you if things are going wrong? What have I got here? Yes, Jax. I agree. Willpower is like a bad boyfriend. They're never there when you need it. So don't bloody rely on it then. Get some other reliable measures in place so that you are a lot more successful at what it is that you are trying to achieve. So, food for thought, guys. I hope it's been really helpful. My podcast is going to drop soon. My next podcast, it is on catastrophizing, so making a mountain out of a molehill. So if you're pretty keen to be notified when that's going to happen, if you're a Psych Chrissy subscriber, that will be happening. You will get the notification if you've asked for it. Otherwise, it'll be posted on the main page. Don't worry, you won't miss out. But yeah, I will chat to you guys soon, and I hope you enjoy tonight's broadcast as well as the Well AF that is about to drop. Mwah! See you for tonight, guys.